Hello, welcome everyone to this Friday's Million Mom Movement call. My name is Tammy Trissel, and we are here today to share some powerful stories about people on the spectrum that have had some really great shifts in their behavior and health using this nutrition. So I'm joined today by my fellow council members, Sherry, Allison, and Naeva, and we are just caregivers on a mission trying to help people to live better lives with better food. So if you are passionate about food and health, or you know anyone else, we're always looking for more people to join our community. So share this with somebody that you love, that you know is out there taking care of other people. Today, I would like to invite Boo to read our pledge for us.
Thank you. I pledge to defend the health of myself and my family. I pledge to choose organic foods that are minimally processed and free from man-made ingredients. I pledge to read labels and educate myself on all aspects of clean living. I understand that my actions today will positively impact the health and environment of future generations. I am committed to sharing this movement of many. I am the Million Mom movement.
Oh, you speak that with so much power. And why are you passionate about this, Boo?
It's not any one thing, it's everything. And we have to be the voice for the voiceless. And today we are speaking for many that are voiceless. And I just feel that when we know better, we do better. And in community, we are so much better together. And it's up to us to carry this knowledge forward and be ambassadors for a better tomorrow for all of us.
Oh, you're so powerful. Thank you so much for that share. I couldn't agree with you more. You know, there's so many people out there that just don't know better. And, you know, that's what I love about this community. We offer this free education, and it's very powerful. You know, the more we educate ourselves, the better we can help everyone. We can help ourselves. And I know for myself, this has changed my life. So thank you so much for being here with us. I would like to, we're going to have our In the News. We have some information to share with you all, and then we're going to get into some incredible testimonies.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. Go ahead and share my screen. So today we have a fairly simple article that we wanted to share, just really about the basics, right? By now, most of us have heard, of course, of autism. We know what it is, but we might still have some questions. Some of it might be unclear. So this article can kind of help just sort of, go over those basics. So what does on the spectrum really mean? So it is our job as human beings to be consciously aware and treat others with the same kindness and awareness that we expect. So to do this, we must debunk stereotypical myths and better understand the truth behind the conditions that people live with. So according to the Northwestern Medicine Organization, 1 in 59 children have autism spectrum disorder. About 50% of the people on the spectrum do not have an intellectual disability, and it is crucial to know that IQ is not inherently associated with autism. So since autism can look different amongst everyone, understanding the general facts about autism spectrum disorder is very important. So you can actually understand the disorder. And here are some of the most common questions. So what does on the spectrum actually mean? It's an umbrella term for developmental disorders previously diagnosed separately as Asperger's syndrome, childhood disintegrative disorder, Rett syndrome, pervasive development disorder, and others. How can you identify the limitations of someone on the spectrum? So the best way to understand a person's limitations and or struggles is by talking with the person. Since everyone deals with the disorder in a different way, having a conversation about an individual's diagnosis and experience is truly the best way to identify the limitations. Can someone with autism spectrum disorder work outside the home, attend college, or get married? Yes, absolutely. Some people can function almost seamlessly and be on the spectrum. There is no cure for autism, but many high-functioning people on the spectrum do not consider themselves in need of a cure. There are different therapies and resources that help high-functioning people on the spectrum have completely normal day-to-day lives. And of course, today and the following week, we'll be getting into what we can do in terms of our nutrition and our lifestyles, right? And we're going to hear amazing stories, testimonials of people who are on the spectrum and who have seen amazing results by doing so. So how or when is someone diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder? So diagnosing autism spectrum disorder can be difficult because there is not a single medical test such as a blood test. So doctors must rely on the child's behavior and development to make a diagnosis. Even though some professionals believe a diagnosis at the young age of 2 years old is possible, most children do not receive a full diagnosis until they are much older. It's also harder for doctors to diagnose autism in girls. Therefore, a female's condition is oftentimes overlooked. So I'm going to stop the share here, but I am going to add just one more. Sorry. Okay, stop the share. I did just want to share a statistic or two with you guys that we have gone over. So over the last 25 years, we have seen the most profound explosion of chronic disease in human history, which to most of us here is not a surprise. By 2011, the Center of Disease Control, so the CDC, was reporting 54% of US children with some form of chronic disorder or disease by the age of 17. These conditions occur in nearly every facet of biology, from the hormones, immune system, respiratory and neurological systems, and even beyond. And then by 2016, the CDC reported 1 in every 14 kids in the US with developmental disabilities and 1 in 28 boys with an autism spectrum disorder. Attention deficit disorder was found in 1 in 10 children. So those are just some facts. And I know they're a little outdated because it doesn't go past 2016, but you can imagine, you see the increase in just those couple of years. You can, go ahead and imagine where those numbers are today. Now back to you, Tammy.
Thank you so much, Sherry. That's really great information. I wish I would have known that back in the day. My daughter, who is 18 years old now, definitely is on the spectrum. There's little quizzes online that you can take, and she's kind of self-diagnosed herself being on the spectrum. And, looking back when she was younger, oh my goodness, in the morning, getting ready for school, the sensory issues, she wouldn't wear clothes, she wouldn't wear socks, it was a struggle getting her ready for school. I mean, we would go through 20 outfits, and, as a parent, it can really put a wrench in your morning. You're trying to get them off to school, you're in a hurry, and they're having a meltdown about their socks or their underwear or their jeans. And I remember the frustrations. And what Dave was saying on the call the other night, this big gap between your firstborn and your lastborn. My youngest was not diagnosed with anything, but he definitely is on the spectrum. And I had him in occupational therapy, speech therapy. My sisters thought, from the beginning that he had definite signs of autism. And as a parent, I was just like, no, he's fine. He's just, he's a baby, and I was making all these excuses as a parent because I didn't want my child being diagnosed with something. You don't want to think that there's something wrong with your child. And looking back now, I didn't have good nutrition when I was pregnant, and it all makes sense. All the dots are connected. He had tics. He would say the first word of every sentence about 40 times, and he would turn his head. It was an I, before he could get the rest of his sentence out. He was late to speak as well. He had sensory issues, same as my daughter, just wanting to run around naked, not wanting to wear clothes. He wouldn't make eye contact with people. He wouldn't play with other children. I have lots of nieces and nephews, and we'd all get together for family gatherings. And my son was over there sitting in the corner by himself, and he didn't want anything to do with these other kids, and this is our family. And it just broke my heart. And, he only wanted me to hold him. And then putting him into preschool, it was like ripping him away from me, trying to get that separation. So that was a struggle. There were so many things. And he was actually in speech therapy and occupational therapy when I started my own healing journey. And this is when I started realizing I need to clean up his gut. So I took action, and it was in March of 2020 when the world shut down and feeding therapy was not an option. So they had feeding, because that was another thing. Try feeding a child with sensory issues. It's a texture thing. They don't want to eat it because the texture is funny. So just feeding him was a struggle. Everything was a struggle. And so I started taking away the bad stuff, taking away the dyes and the sugars and all the processed things, and just doing the best I could. But it was the things that I added in that made the difference. I started adding in the biomedic. I would, he was still eating chicken nuggets. So I would open the capsule and put it into his ketchup. Any way that I could get it in him. If he had a Frosty from Wendy's, I was putting the Epigenius family in there. No matter how poor the diet, you can sneak these good things into the children. So I was just doing the best I could. Yes, Dan. And his therapist started noticing he's not stuttering anymore. And they were just blown away. He started making eye contact, and they were like, what are you doing? And I told them, I cleaned up his diet, and I started, cleaning up his gut. And I had the apothecary. So he was getting that deep, restful sleep. And a few other modalities. And it was, to see your child, being able to light up, to make eye contact, and, to be able to get that sentence out like that, just, it really, it's just like so life-changing. You don't want to see your children struggling or suffering. So for me, I'm so passionate about this. And I know we have some other really powerful stories on here. It doesn't matter how severe, you are on the spectrum. Harvey's not as severe as some of these other stories. Even the little things can make a caregiver's life, pretty difficult. So I'm really excited. I would like to see if Boo would share first, because I see her on my screen here. Boo, would you like to share your story with us, please?
Sure, my story, and Tammy, that was just amazing. I mean, the growth that you've seen is just amazing, and your hair looks gorgeous, by the way. My position is coming more from advocacy and as a community advocate for this situation. And it's just time to change it. And who was it? The piece that was read in the news, I think you said 1 in 59 children are born on some kind of spectrum. And that's actually in Dave's book. But I'm going to share a link because I did some research, and Autism Speaks, they have a similar fact sheet that we have in this book. And they're saying now in 2023, it was 1 in 36. And that is, I did the statistic, the difference is huge, the growth. And we've got to slow this down. And we have to use our voices. This is where we overcome fear and be willing to stand alone for what's right. We know what's right. We've got this gift, and so we have to help others. And oftentimes, autism moms are overwhelmed. And so if you know an autism mom, just reach out to her, support her, encourage her. And it's just so powerful. And my other thing is that if we're seeing these results in people on the spectrum, whether they're high functioning or they're human beings. We're human beings. Everybody eats. We are lucky enough to witness the results that they're getting. So imagine what's happening in us. We're getting these same results. We're just not being measured. So it's just very powerful that everybody's sharing. And I think we can use this as a platform to help people bring awareness to the power of right nutrition and gut health and that gut-brain connection. And I'll share that piece. Sorry.
Oh, you're so much.
I'm sorry?
I said, thank you so much. You're so perfect. I just love you. Oh, Yeah, it doesn't matter where you're at on the spectrum when you're dealing with a child that has behavior issues, sensory issues. It's a struggle. The struggle is real. And I know for Harvey, there's a clothing. So if anyone else is dealing with sensory issues in clothing, if you don't want your child running around naked, there's something called modal, and it's a very, very soft fabric. So I just want to put that out there that really helped him. So I think Allison wanted to share something.
Well, I'm really passionate about this topic. Autism is close to my home. My uncle, growing up, my uncle is Asperger's, and he was diagnosed very much later in life. And so it was so heartbreaking to hear the stories of how badly he was abused and bullied his whole life. And so I'm very passionate about advocating and definitely like doing what I can to support people on the spectrum. And myself growing up with such severe learning disabilities, I was, put through as well, like just a lot of things that I want to protect other kids from. And so I wanted to go and work I wanted to help autistic children in schools. That was one of the things before, like way before Purium came into my life. But I went into this program of working with autistic children, and it really broke my heart, the modalities that they were using. It was something called ABA training. And to me, this doesn't respect and honor the differences of people on the spectrum. It was how to get them to be normal. Like, what does that mean? Right. But like, it was how to make them stand in this, like fit into the standard systems. And it just 100% didn't align with me. I had to drop out of the program, and I'm really passionate against that. And I love how this community truly celebrates and finds a place for people on the spectrum who are different. I love that this business opportunities as well, like not only the food, of course, amazing, but the business opportunities available to people on the spectrum. And we have ways to share this without in ways that are even where people are at in their communication or how they express themselves. There's so many different ways we can share this amazing gift and empower people on the spectrum to really whatever they want to do. But it's a great vehicle. And my own daughter, my experience when I saw my daughter's feedback from school when she first went into school, my oldest daughter, I had a lot of meetings with the teachers. The teachers always wanted to speak to us because my daughter was also showing the signs of what I had, which is ADD. And so grateful that Purium came into our life, because as soon as she started doing Epigenius shake in the morning and like living this Purium lifestyle, all those issues, the teachers just stopped asking us basically to meet, because we had I remember the year I started taking Purium, at the beginning of the school year, they had all these meetings with, we need to talk about what's, Rhea's learning disabilities and stuff. And then by the end of the school year, I asked the teacher, you haven't asked, what's how's Rhea doing in school? And she said, she's doing a lot better. I'm really seeing a huge improvement in her, just her comprehension and her focus. And I knew what it was, because she had started taking, and she loves the Epigenia shake, and she asks me for it because of how it makes her feel. She loves it so much now. And it wasn't overnight. Like you, Tammy, I was slipping it into their food. I would actually make ramen noodles and put my bio, because they were obsessed with ramen noodles. And luckily I buy the organic ones. So luckily I started to, when I started learning more, we buy the organic ones, which is still not great, but I would put them into the right into their ramen noodles, and they didn't even know. And with people on the spectrum, and my daughter may have been also like, she's very much like what you were describing with your oldest daughter, Lily. Like she's still very, very kind of like, not to give another label, but kind of OCD about things, and like everything, being straight and no tags and anything. And she didn't, she would notice any difference, right? So when you're dealing with kids who are very picky eaters, it's not always easy. If you add it in the ketchup, it's going to change the color and they won't eat brown ketchup. But, there's, so I always had to find brown foods to put it in, things that would really, they would never notice. That's why the ramen worked, and some spaghetti sauces sometimes worked or whatever. But yeah, you find ways to sneak it in at the beginning. And over time, because we were so consistent with it, and we're the parents lead by example. We have to remember, we can't discipline our children to do something. We just have to keep on doing it every day. And over time, because we just, always presented it to them, always, just not in a pressure way, but that was always, we were consistent how we were persistent in a way that wasn't, pushing them away, but it was, over time, they just started to do it. They found their way, they found their shakes that they like. Junie does a creamy greenie. She does her like oat milk and green juice, and Rhea does her Epigenius with a little spirulina, which she asks for. She loves the flavor of the spirulina, and it's amazing. And so, for their energy and their function, like I've just noticed a huge difference in our children. And so I know it could help anyone, on the spectrum and whatever other disabilities. And for myself, I just, definitely wish all kids and all parents and all social workers in school and people who advocate for children on the spectrum just knew that there was options for improving, not to say that it's going to get rid of their, autism. It's a beautiful thing to be on the spectrum, but to be, to thrive to their best potential. So that's always the key, is the goal is always to thrive to everyone's potential. And so grateful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Allison. You guys are so wonderful. Yeah, I feel you about the brown food, because Harvey finally, when he saw ketchup somewhere else, then when he was realizing I was putting the biomedic, he's like, what is this in here? And then I had to get more creative, and I started cutting open his little pizza rolls and putting it in there. And it was just, it's always a process. It's, as we grow, as we continue on our healing journeys, you just have to make it fun and just do the best you can do with the situation that you're in. And, Lily is, with her OCD, I would say, yeah, she definitely has the OCD. She's very scheduled. She's very routine. And she really doesn't like people. And, what you were saying about this business, what is so wonderful, as she's watching me and she's met this community, she's been out to Dave's land, and she just really resonated with Dave. She's like, I feel him so much on so many levels. She's like, he's like me, with people and certain behavior issues. And she just felt really at home with everyone and very comfortable. And right now she's a cook at a restaurant, working back behind the scenes because she doesn't want to be, one-on-one with people. And so she asked me, we just got an application for the farmers market, and she wants to start her Purium business because she's so passionate, because this nutrition has helped her so much. So I'm super excited for that. And this, we get to think outside the box. My kids are super artistic and creative, and that's, they're beautiful souls. Like Harvey will wake up in the morning, and the innocence, I just love it. He just looks out the window and he's like, oh, it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. It's just like, oh, to see through their eyes, like their souls are so pure, so innocent. So yeah, wonderful share. Thank you so much, Allison. And I have my brand partner, Allie, on, and she has her son, Alan. And I know I was praying for this for so long for her and for her son, because, as a caregiver, we have to put our oxygen masks on first. And I got to do a live with her the other day to share her story, her progress with her and her son. Alan is 21. He's severely autistic, nonverbal, hyperactive. So this mama has got her hands full. And I could just tell, she was exhausted and depleted. And we took the same holistic healing program together. So I'm so excited for you guys to hear her share about how this nutrition has helped her son, Alan. So if someone could unmute Allie for us.
Hi, you already have me crying.
Oh,
Um, for me, it was just so much like you. I was in denial at first, and I could not think that my son could have anything or be diagnosed with anything. It was so hard, and it's been so hard. And then when he was I noticed between his first 6 months to 12 months, he wouldn't sleep well. He would cry a lot. He would scream for no reason. Whenever I try to feed him any kind of fruit, he would just go like that and straighten his body up like a like a like a table. It was for me like something never seen. And it was very difficult because by that time I had gotten back here in the States, because I'm originally from Mexico. So I just could not have my family come over and tell us anything, it was, I was pretty lonely and just could not understand or have anyone maybe wake me up. Until my dad came, my son was already 18 months old, and he said, Allie, you have to have this kid checked up. And I was like, checked up for what? Does he have a cold? Is he fine? And he said, don't you see, he can't talk, he's not like any other kid. And in my head I was like, what is he talking about? But on the other side I was like, I know. And I knew since he was very, very little. And then fast forward to when he was like 6, 7, no, I would say 8, between 8 and 9. All those years we deal with all kind of behavioral issues. But by that time, he was having so much diarrhea and vomit, and like it wouldn't stop. It went on for so long. Before this he was diagnosed, and then nothing, like no sport or anything, and then he started getting sick, and they would just give us a pill for the nausea. And I was like, well, no, this is not gonna work. So that's when I finally realized that I had to do something on my own. So I started reading about diet and stuff. We removed milk, yogurt, and it was so hard, and it's been hard since then to remove cheese, but at least we stopped those things. And he stopped vomiting. He stopped having that severe diarrhea all the time. And I was like, whoa, how do doctors don't say anything about what he's eating or anything, like all of us? And then, well, we went through that. Fast forward then to puberty, he became more and more aggressive because it was already just too much for him to handle. And so I said this the other day, we would have very so many problems going to the stores, going to public places. I would have to pick him up so much from school almost every other day. And one day they called me because he was in the classroom. He took all his clothes off, and they called me to pick him up. He couldn't stand his clothes either. So I picked him up, and I had to walk into the classroom. And when I got there, I just broke down crying, because seeing him in the classroom without clothes, he was already, like I said, 9 or 10. And it was very, very overwhelming. From there, it was just still so hard. All those years, oh my goodness, I gotta stop. Because then when he was 60, between 16 and 18, I would say, yeah, 16, 17, 18, and 19, this is when I was already in the group and with Tammy, and that's where we met because I could not handle my son anymore. And so I was trying to feed him better, and so many things, so hard those years. Those were the worst. So finally, so sorry I made this so long. But then finally, I decided to get Purium, and when we started giving him Epigenius, I noticed since the first week that he was already being more alert. It's not like, obviously he's still autistic, but all these 6 months that he's been drinking his shakes and stuff, he loves the apothecary. Oh my goodness, he's so different, and he smiles a lot more. His bipolar episodes are less. He's sleeping better, and now he's been 5 days on the pineal clear, and he's sleeping better. This morning he went late to school again because he slept 1 hour over. So he was supposed to wake up at 7. Usually he is the first one, and this is happening again. When I started the apothecary, he was sleeping in, and then again this time now he's sleeping 1 hour extra. I had to wake him up today because we missed the bus, and last week, well, earlier this week, we missed the bus too. So he goes to a program. He's already 21, but he goes to a program, and the bus picks him up, and he rarely ever misses it because he's so hyper that he has trouble sleeping too, and he wakes up before anyone here, so he's always up at 6 or 7. And today he woke up at 8:30. And so that was like super great. He's been more vocal. I don't think they haven't said much in school, but he does have more vocabulary, sorry. And am I missing something?
No, I know it was after 1 week on the nutrition, and he put his first sentence together by himself, and he's speaking less. You were saying before it was more robotic sounding, and now it's just a really nice flow to his words. And, and this nutrition has helped you to be able to handle all of this. I mean, I've just noticed how your anxiety and your stress, and as a caregiver dealing with so much, you were saying the one time you guys were at the store and a baby was crying and he was going to go slap the baby, and you've had to tackle him. I mean, that is a lot to deal with. I mean, I can't even fathom all the things that you're dealing with. So this nutrition has just helped you guys so much, and getting sleep and having that extra hour to yourself in the mornings, and all these little moments that are just so big for you. I mean, I see it so much. I mean, he's chugging the shakes. He's like gulping it down because you're always doing your Facebook lives, and he really loves it. He's craving it. His body is really, he's loving it so much. So you don't even have to fight him to get this into him.
Not much. He really likes to drink them. Now we're having problems drinking the Epigenius. Oh, by the way, he learned to say Epigenius, and we went on Facebook, and he was saying Epigenius. But now he's having trouble with the Epigenius, and now we're doing all the other juices like the cocoa hydrate, all the juice bar except the beets, not yet. I don't want him more energized, but he loves the bio fruit, and now I'm teaching him to say bio fruit. But yeah, the beets, I'm gonna wait. What the only thing that I'm having trouble giving him is the aminos, because when I was adding it to the Epigenius, he was gagging, and I had to go back and just not put him in there. But if anyone has an idea, I would love those. He needs so much, but I haven't been lucky. I don't know, but we'll figure out.
Yeah, well, I couldn't love you more if I tried. I'm just so happy that you're here with us. I'm so happy you guys have this nutrition, and we all get to meet Allie at the convention. She's going to be there, and Alan is coming as well. I'm so excited, and I'll do everything in my power to give you as much of a break as possible. So we're so excited. Thank you so much for sharing today. You're just so magnificent. I just love you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I love you all. I love you more, Tammy.
So, when Allie was talking about, just the issues with depression and anxiety, something else I can share with you guys on a personal level. My daughter went through a spell with the depression and the anxiety as well. And she was even cutting herself. And, that was something else that we went through. And I remember we were driving down the road one day, and she looked over at me. This was about 2 months on this nutrition. And she looked over at me, and she just had tears running down her face. And I'm like, what's wrong? She's like, I can feel again. Because she was so numbed out from everything. And she's like, Mom, I can't remember the last time I could feel. And I got goosebumps all over my whole body. Her depression, her anxiety are gone. And, all these things that this nutrition did for my family. I just want this so much for other families. And so the more we share with people, the more we're going to help everyone, no matter where you're at. And it's not about being perfect. You don't have to be eating completely perfect. I don't care if you're eating fast food or whatever you're eating, it's a process. It's a transition, just getting this stuff into you. You don't have to give up everything. Just get this nutrition in you. I don't know if I think we might have another share. Naiva, do we have anyone else sharing?
Yes, we do. Shanta, are you in a place where you can share?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, we can hear you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. So I want to say thank you to everybody for their shares, all the moms, for you ladies for sharing. My name is Shanta. For those of you that don't know me, so I'm an autism mom, and I'm also an autism coach. But I want to talk a little bit, about, when I first got my son's diagnosis. He was about 19 months, and I started to notice like certain changes, and he was no longer turning around when we called his name, and he started doing certain things that was weird, like lining up toys and stuff like that, and just being like to himself, but we took him to the doctor, and she gave us the diagnosis that he was autistic, and I didn't know what that was. And I was just like numb, I was just numb, and I didn't know what to do, because she didn't tell me nothing. Like okay, what do I do? Okay, your son is autistic. Okay, but what do we do? How do we help him? You know, and she couldn't tell us nothing. But so I stayed in the house for 2 years, just numb, just crying. I cried for 2 years. I didn't even tell my mom. I didn't tell my dad. I didn't tell my family, you know, because I was trying to figure out how did this happen, you know, and, you know, blaming myself, you know, that, you know, thinking of anything that I did. I was asking God, you know, what did I do? Thought that I was being punished, you know, for something that I did, you know. So I just cried. I cried for 2 years, and we stayed in the house for 2 years, right? And then I started, you know, I started to pray. I started praying, but I was still crying, but I started praying because I didn't know what to do. And so a voice came to me, and a voice told me to get up and go out. And it was so strong. Like, I don't know where I got the strength for, but I got the strength and I got the courage. And I put my son in the stroller, and we got up and we went out. And I said to myself, we're going to get up and we're going to go into this world, and we're going to do everything that we can do. You understand? And I'm thinking all about autism. We just going to do it, you know? And it was from that day on, you know, I took him, we went to the zoo, you know, we did everything. And, you know, and I'm not going to say it was easy, because it was really hard. You know, I mean, like, I was like really pulling my hair out and crying. And, you know what, when I didn't go the same route every day, you know, as he grew, you know, he would start kicking my windows, you know, and I couldn't drive because I had to make sure that he was safe. We would be safe. So I used to have to pull over, and I would just pull over and cry. And a lot of times, a lot of things that happened, I never told anybody, not even my family. It was just me and him, you know. So I was hurting. I was in pain, you know. So nobody knew what was going on, you know. And I don't even think I told my parents for a long time. My son didn't even go around them, you know. I just kept him away. So it was as he got older, you know, they started asking me questions and stuff. So I shared it, because I even thought that they would blame me too. So I was hiding. So I know that, you know, time is of essence, but I don't want to. My story, I have plenty of them. My stories is long, but I just want to go into like what kept me, you know, what helped me was my belief in God, and just knowing and hoping and praying that, you know, that we could have some success, you know. So I just rolled with it. I put him in a daycare, you know. That was good. God started sending like good people in my life, you know, like he had a speech therapist. The doctor had told us at one point that he would never speak, you know, and that was hurting for me, because a mother's, you know, child, you know, all you want to do is like hear your son, your daughter speak, and just be able to call you mommy, right? So as he got older, you know, at the age about 6 or 7, he started saying little words, and by that time I was learning more and more of how to help him, you know, and so help him like bring the words out of him, you know. So so that was like one of the things. So then, you know, we were so me, like as a parent, you know, and your child has this diagnosis, you just want to do everything that you can to help them, right? So I was very, very, very vulnerable, you know, and just open. Like, they wanted to medicate my son. I was like, absolutely not, you know, because in my mind, it was already, he got his first shots, and, you know, we didn't know where this autism came from, but all I know is that I didn't want him to get medicated, nothing from the doctors, you know. So I said, you know what, in my mind, I've already had a fitness and a nutrition new background from what I had, you know. I just want to give him good diet, and you know. So I started doing that, you know. I had to trick him to eat good, but what I did, and I was learning, but I just took the milk from him cold turkey. I said, he's going to scream, he's going to holler, but I took you remember the banana bowls that we used to give our kids, those little yogurt drinks. So those, I used to give those to him. I came home one day and I just threw everything out. I said, this boy is going to holler and scream. And guess what? He didn't. He didn't do anything. I started making him walnut milk. I started making, that's when I started learning to make the milk. And I wanted him to eat healthy. So I would just put one day like apples. I would just sit him on the counter, try to trick him, right? So I would just sit stuff on the counter, right? And one day I sat a green pepper on the counter and he walked up to it, took it and ate it like an apple. And I hollered for joy. I was so happy. But, you know, I've never had a problem with giving him healthy things. There were certain things that he didn't like in the beginning, but there was a time when my son just lived off of French fries. Like I couldn't get him to eat a burger from McDonald's. Now, boy, I don't give him McDonald's. I don't, but like now he want to eat it, but he knows what's best for him. He knows like what's healthy. So if someone offer him something that's not so healthy, he'll turn and he'll look at me as if to say, is it okay? You know, and I'll be like, you know, like, nah, we're not doing that. Not today, you know, but, I was very vulnerable, my vulnerability, you know, I wanted to get like healthy stuff into him, healthy supplements and stuff like that. So I spent a lot of money trying supplements here, supplements there, things that everyone said that would help. So everyone sold me their snake oil, but, you know, nothing worked, you know. So it wasn't until I met, you know, well, I've known her because my husband used to train her, Chris the Bronx vegan. So I ran into her one day and she was drinking this purple juice and I was getting rid of all the fake stuff out of my way, you know, and I said, hey, what's that you drinking? And she was like, oh, drinking beet juice. You want to try it? And I said, yes. So it was from that day on, you know, okay, I started digging into that and she started talking to me about the superfoods, and then her and Boo, you know, like have been, I'm very, very grateful and thankful for Chris the Bronx the vegan and Boo, because they have introduced me to this opportunity, you know, to be a brand partner, to be able to help my son nourish and thrive, you know, and the team, you know, for their support, for the weekly calls from Million Mom Movement. Like, and when I was like, wow, like Million Mom Movement, like, what is that? Who are they? You know, I wanted to just be a part of it. You know, I just wanted to learn. I just, you know, moms just helping and encouraging other moms and moms of other that have children just like mine, how we can help, how we can support, how we can lift each other up, help each other. Hey, I've tried this, like try this, you know, hey, my son, even though like all of our children are different, we can still share our stories. We can still support each other. We can still share, hey, I use this. Maybe this will work for your son, you know, and that's what it's about, right? It's about helping each other because we all are better together. And I just want to say thank you ladies so much, you know, for allowing me to share. I pray that, you know, that my story has one, and you stories have you ladies stories, or you stories have touched me every week. You know, I'm excited, you know, to join the call and just hear and just learn and just grow, right? Because when you know better, you can do better and you can help your families, right? You know, so I just really want to say thank you. I'm so very grateful to you ladies. Thank you.
I can feel your passion just coming through the screen. You gave me goosebumps, chills. Oh my goodness. I love you so I feel you. You know, I blamed myself too. I was like, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Why me? Why my child? You know, and that's what I love about this community too. It's like there's other people here dealing with the same things, and we're not just sitting around talking about problems. We're talking about solutions. Like, you know, we have some positive to focus on. And we don't have to, we don't have to be perfect. And, my son, he still doesn't eat perfect. It is such a process. I was like you, I threw everything away, and I was like making Uncrustables from scratch and making milk from scratch and everything. But, then he's out there in the world around other kids, and he's just like, he just wants to eat school lunch with his friends. He goes to other family members' houses, and they've got Doritos and other things. So it's just a constant process of growth and learning, and just continually cleaning up our guts and just doing the best that we can do in the situations that we're in. And thank you so much for your share. That was so powerful.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
I see Sir Glenneth has his hand up. Glenneth, would you like to share?
We actually have one more guest, Tammy,
Oh,
that we'd like
oh,
to
Oh,
highlight.
I'm so sorry. Oh, Michelle, yes. I'm so sorry. Yes, Michelle, let's have Michelle share.
I saw you for a minute, Michelle. Are you still there?
There, it didn't let me unmute. Hi.
Oh, there.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Larson, and I have been, my husband and I have been married almost 24 years, and we have 4 sons. Our 4 kids are on the spectrum. And Dave's call was very powerful yesterday because he said something very interesting. Because my number 1 and my number 3 are very similar, how autism looks like it. I had a big gap between my first 2 sons and my last 2 sons, 9 years in between. And the first son and my number 3 are very similar, how autism affects them. My number 2 and number 4 are also the same. And it's fascinating how genetics works. And we have realized now that my husband is on the spectrum. And so imagine being on the spectrum and having to look after 4 children. And when my number 1 was 6 years old, he ran into the middle of the street. The principal called me and said, "You need to come in. Your son said he wants to die." So that's about 15 years ago that we had this conversation with the school. And I had no idea what was wrong with him. We took him to therapists, psychiatrists, and finally the psychiatrist said, "Your son is on the spectrum. Have you ever heard ASD, autism spectrum disorder?" I said, "No, what's that?" He said, "Well, your son is on the spectrum, but he's so borderline. Do not traumatize him. Do not designate him as autistic. We will help him here at the clinic with his anxiety, and that's all we can say, but do not get him diagnosed." We didn't know what to do. We were very unaware of our choices. We live in Canada, and here in our province, we have money for therapy. But he says, "No, he's so borderline. Do not get him diagnosed." So then years passed, and every year, school year, I would get a call from the teachers. "What's wrong with your son? He's disruptive. He's walking around in circles. He's not paying attention in class." I would say, "Well, we know he's on the spectrum, but we don't want to get him properly diagnosed. We just want to let you know that, so you give him a little bit more leniency." So the years went by, and about my son number 3 was born. And at this time, he was about 2 or 3, and he wouldn't stop screaming at night, like bloody murder. And he'd be like night terrors every night. We couldn't sleep. And that's when I realized maybe he was also on the spectrum. And by this time, my son number 1 was about 11 or 12. And I said, this time I'm going to get the help because this son is more affected than my number 1. And so we went through that route of getting them diagnosed. By this time, I think my son was 12-ish and my son was 3. And my 12-year-old was traumatized. He says, "Why are you taking me to all these appointments? Am I retarded?" And this is why I'm sharing this, because if you're a parent of children that now they're in their teenage years and you decide to go the route of getting them assessed, it's a hard conversation to have with them. But it's I'm sharing this because it's possible that you can help them through this. And we helped them through it. Finally, they said, "Yes, he's on the spectrum, so is your 3-year-old." And I said, "You're not retarded. This just explains why you are different. Like, you learn different. You have social anxiety." Now, then years went by, and then about 3 years ago, we sold everything in the city. We lived in a beautiful city in Canada, and we sold everything because by this time we had 4 children. And we thought, we need more space, we need acreage, we want the forest, we want them to be grounded. So we sold our everything and we moved up northern Canada to acreage where we started building our house. And the sad thing was that even though we did all this huge move, they were happier, but everything continued the same. This time my son number 3 was 9, and he had never slept through the night. Never. Till this day, till that day, I thought, we're in the countryside, we're in the forest. How can he not be sleeping through the night? And by this time, my first son was almost 18. He was already starting to show signs of depression. And I thought, I can't have depression. I've already dealt with him having depression all our marriage life, all our married life. And so exactly 2 years and 4 months ago, a girlfriend told me about Pyria. And she said, Michelle, have you heard of heavy metal detox? Have you heard of glyphosate? And up to this point, I was a mom that was so natural that I even gave birth to 3 of my kids at home, because I was always not against medication, but if I could do anything naturally, I would. So that's the type of mom I am. So when she said heavy metal detox, I thought, maybe that's what I need. I've been in the airline industry for 28 years. I'm a flight attendant. I thought jet fuel, maybe that makes sense. And then, so I said, yes. That's a good thing with people on the spectrum is that when they make up their mind, they are they're very committed. So I said to my husband, I got this transformation for everybody. And we're going to start it. And he said, yes. So one day he woke up and he says, today will be the day. And everybody went on the program. Day one. My youngest ones were on Epigenius and Apothecary, and my older ones were on the ULT, the Power Shake. And day 3 on the program, my son number 3, who was 9, slept through the night. And I thought maybe he's sick, but actually we haven't looked back. Now he sleeps through the night. 6 months into the program, my son that's most affected, my speech pathologist, said, there's something happening with your children. They're different. She was looking after my 2 youngest ones. She says, your son number 3, he's smiling. He's actually gone up 2 grade levels in reading and comprehension. He is soaring. And I thought for the first time out of my 4 children, I know my number 3, maybe I was going to be living at home with me all his life. I had that in my mind. Maybe he'll never read or comprehend like his brothers, but now he's almost at grade level. That's huge. I can now see that he can have a quality of life that I never thought he could have. And then my oldest son is now 21. He smiles, he giggles, he no longer has depression. And he has they have a very good quality of life. And all my sons are on the spectrum, and as I said, the self-regulation has improved immensely. That's something I cannot tell everybody. I mean, I can't not share this with everybody. The self-regulation, the moodiness, there's no more moodiness. Before it was World War II at our house because they're always fighting, they're always policing each other. Imagine 4 people on the spectrum in the same house. But you know what? They are a lot kinder to each other. They don't fight anymore like they used to. And just to my husband on the spectrum, he no longer has days off in bed because he's riddled by anxiety and depression. He now has a regular life. So that's why I can't stop sharing with everybody.
Your story is so powerful, Michelle. I can't thank you enough for sharing today. I've heard your story before. I know Kevin Luna had it posted. He filmed you live at, I think maybe it was Diamond Conference, and I was just bawling my eyes out. I'm like, when you have a community of people and you just don't feel alone, and there's other people that are going through similar things. I feel you so much. And I was mind blown when Dave said that last night about the number 1 and number 3, because it's the same for me. It's my first and my third. And it's just, wow. You just don't know what you don't know until you know. So this is, my youngest too, like now in school, he's reading and all these magical things are happening. And it's so wonderful to see them lighting up, and I feel your passion. Do we have time for Gleneth to share, if anyone doesn't mind staying on another minute? I know we're at the top of the hour. I want to respect everyone's time. If Gleneth, if you want to share.
Oh, sure, I'd love to. I've worked a lot with autism. I'm an artist and an art teacher. There's not a lot of work in the art field. In art, we teach people how to think outside the box. People on the spectrum, or autism, live outside the box. They're not trying to reach to the box. They live out there. It's like their senses are all amplified, or can be. In credentialing, you learn about how to teach to the different modalities. The main one is visual and auditory, but then there's taste, there's touch, there's all these other things. I mean, the kid that has touch sensitivity, he has to touch every kid on the way to the pencil sharpener, right? And it can be very disruptive, right, to the norm. And let me tell you, you were talking about teaching to the norm. I can't tell you how many of these kids would love to be in that norm. I mean, they're overwhelmed often. But I've done a lot of work in the field. Boy, you get a bunch of people in the same classroom and one kid yells out and it's just overwhelming. Next thing you know, they're all yelling out, right? So I've learned from other special ed teachers about the genius in autism. I mean, in special ed, they call it, well, anyhow, I call it disabilities. I call it other abilities, because really that's what it is. They're tapping into other modalities rather than just quote the norm. And they can see the whole spectrum. It's just, it can be overwhelming, right? So I just thought I'd give that input. I've done a lot of work. I mean, I've been on one-on-one programs where kids lived in their own homes, and actually with at least one autism kid it had to be 2-on-1. And my first day, I'd been around this kid a lot, so I knew him and I felt comfortable, right? And the first day I was there, I happened to lean against a corner around a hallway thing, and he comes by and he just kind of pushes my head and goes bam against the wall, and it gashed a big gash in the back of my head. I mean, you have to be very aware of, depending on the degree, of course, of disability, but particularly when they're around environments they don't want to be. I think Shanti mentioned taking her kid to school and he was kicking out the windows, if I caught that right. Well, the kid knew where he's going, right? And didn't want to necessarily be there, right? Because it's overwhelming. So a lot of times in the classroom, they would have to take a kid out and just walk them around the field or something, give them some space, right? Because it is overwhelming for them, or can be. So I just thought I'd give that feedback.
Thank you so much, Glenn. Yeah, I know art has, given my kids something positive to focus on. I have a whole wall in my living room that is Harvey's canvas. It's not, it's the entire wall. He gets to paint on the whole thing. And my daughter, she does amazing bleached hoodies, and it's wonderful to have them, thinking outside the box. They definitely live outside the box. We are just creating our own fun little world in our house. It's wonderful to see how creativity, it really is just, it's their therapy,
Imagine to communicate,
Yeah.
with express yourself, and then you get this other modality. And there is a art, right? I mean, that's part of when I've taught art, what you teach people is the language and how to speak that language. It's probably more universal than, English or another language.
Right.
So, it's a great modality. That isn't necessarily what I was doing with the kids. I was actually at one point going for a special ed degree myself, and I was teaching full-time at the same time. And I go, oh, this is just too much, right? Learning about all the intricacies of special ed. But I've done so much work there. I mean, there's just not a lot of work for art teachers. So, and a lot of people don't want to work in those classrooms, right? So I did a lot of sub teaching, and that's how I learned and kind of got exposed to it. So yeah, anyhow.
Thank you so much for sharing. I follow you and I see your artwork. It's fabulous. I know we're running over just a minute. I saw Kimberly had her hand up. I didn't know if she wanted to share about the MVP. I think she had a little tip for one of our moms. Kimberly, if you wanted to share real quick, and then we'll do our call to action.
Just really quick for everyone, I know it helped one of Amber's little girl, the MVP family. She used to be having her head, like hitting her head on the wall, and she got that MVP family in her daughter, and it stopped. So something with the MVP as well if the Epigenius doesn't work. And thank you so much for this call and letting me share. I love you.
Thank you so much, Miss Kimberly. Okay, and now we have Allison or Naeva doing our call to action for us.
You want to do the call to action? Thank you so much, Tammy, for guiding us, and thanks, Kimberly, for that suggestion. And just so everybody knows, we are going to be sharing, continuing this subject next Friday and sharing more about the products suggested, the nutrition, the foods that are most beneficial for people on the spectrum. So we do want to continue this conversation. So we want to invite you all back. And I do have a quick call to action. If everybody could pull out their phones real quick and go to this link. I'm going to drop it in the comments. Hopefully, if you're on your computer, I think you can also, oh, how do I drop it in the comments from here? I think I have to stop my screen share. Bear with me, guys. So we have this pledge that we would love to have you sign. And it's an opportunity for us to, you know, really be able to shout from the rooftops about our activism as part of this community. And I dropped the link here in the comments. I'm going to share my screen again. This is a petition to remove glyphosate, which is a harmful chemical out of our food that is known to cause cancer. It's known to cause all kinds of different things. It's in 85% of our food, and it causes all kinds of diseases beginning in our gut and our gut microbiome. And so this petition is by Zach Bush, and there's a little bit more information down here about why it is that we have this petition going. But we wanted to just jump on board as we've had some similar petitions ourselves, but we figured adding our numbers to these already large numbers is only going to grow the movement even more and help our movements work together to create bigger change in the world. So we'd love to invite you to just go over here. I've already signed it. Please go ahead and sign this petition. I also wanted to share with you, Dave on this last Wednesday, he talked about his book, The Toxin That Came to Dinner. So we would like to share that link to that book again with you all. So if one of you council members is able to grab it and put it in the comments, otherwise I will when I'm done. But it talks about the facts about autism. Autism is the fastest growing developmental disability, and about 1% of the world's population has autism spectrum disorder. The prevalence in the US is estimated at 1 out of 59 births, which I think was corrected earlier. That's more like 1 out of 39 now. The numbers have changed. More than 3.5 million Americans live with an autism spectrum disorder. And so a lot of us may be undiagnosed. People that we know might be undiagnosed. As I know, I saw it in the chat, a lot of us here have suffered with different levels of this, you know, it's not necessarily a disability, it's extra abilities, super abilities to be hyper aware of our surroundings. And so in Dave's book, he has this, it's on page 32. And there's also this graph right here, which is on page 16, that says the number of children with autism and the number that it's rise since the 90s all the way till 2010. And this is already 14 years ago, you guys. So just imagine where that needle is at now with the amount of children with autism. So I just want to share these two graphs. We have the book, The Toxin That Came to Dinner. You can get it at thetoxinthatcame-to-dinner.com. And so you can go right here, grab that book, download it right away so that you have it, share that link with other people. There's a short little video here that you can also share to just help as like a little teaser to get people interested in this book. It's something you can use as a tool. And so we want to invite you, excuse me, I clicked on it. So we want to invite you to grab that link and use it as a tool. So you can share the little teaser on your social media if you want to, in your stories, on a reel, and then you can go ahead and share the actual link to the book or to the teaser as the follow-up. So that's your freebie. I would do the teaser and then maybe give them the book after they've seen the teaser. So you can use it as a tool that you can work your way to where you're wanting to go and what you're wanting to share with them. So last but not least, we always want to welcome you back to our Fridays conversation. Next week, it's a plate full of, let's see, what was the name of it? Plate full of possibilities. And we really want to share more about the superfoods that are going to be most beneficial to your to the people in your community, to the people that are on the spectrum, the people you might be caring for. I'm sorry, I got mixed up. I didn't realize I was sharing my screen. I'm gonna go back to this page. And so we want to invite you to like us on our Facebook page, join our group, Million Mom Movement Official, and then also follow us on Instagram, tag us in your stories and your posts. I would love to see more pictures of children making superfoods, drinking superfoods, sharing about their experience. I really love to share that on our Million Mom Movement page. And so if your children are into doing that, please do share that experience with the rest of us so we can inspire other families and moms out there. And last but not least, please follow our YouTube channel, subscribe there so that you can get access to all of our replays. And this replay will be up shortly. And so I'll go ahead and pass it back to you, Tammy, for any closing thoughts. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Yeah, I just want to give a special thanks to Boo and Michelle and Shanta and Allie and did I forget everyone for sharing today. You know, I love this community and I'm so passionate about this and I just love that we all get together to talk about all these solutions and we don't have to focus on the problem so much and we just lift each other up. And I know you guys all just brightened my day so much. So thank you so much for being here. And Miss Kimberly sharing your MVP. I can't wait to be back next week for more fun recipes. I saw Allison just drop something about some fun cookies. So we'll have lots of things. And I will share Harvey's healthy cherry soda with you guys. It's one of his favorites. He takes my phone and steals it to do a Facebook Live making his healthy cherry soda. The one time he went into the bathroom, locked himself in there, and there was a pot of cherry all over my phone. So we'll have him do that again. We'll practice and get a good video for you guys.